Welcome, everyone, to the 60th weekly episode of Marked Out Radio. I'm Sean.
And I'm Dana.
And today we have an awesome interview guest. Tom Unger of the Big Event New York is here with us. And we will get to him right after the first part of the show. He'll be after the news and announcements. So I guess the first thing that we need to talk about is, well, I guess first of all, there were no actual signings we went to this week, right?
Shockingly, no.
Yeah. This is like the first time in a long time when that hasn't happened. So that's why we thought it was a perfect opportunity to have a guest. And also we have so many other things to talk about. So the first big piece of news, I mean, I guess it's big in our small little world, is that we have officially rebranded our Facebook group. And honestly, if you guys knew the process and the angst and the anguish that went into making that decision and going back and forth and up and down and twisting ourselves into pretzels about sort of what the best way was to capture what we're trying to do. And that's really the reason for the change. So the Facebook group is now called Marked Out Autograph Collecting Community, and it was done that, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was named that to properly take into account that we have this thriving, vibrant community where we talk about the hobby. We have this show where that is now, I mean, every week we're gaining more and more traction and listeners talking about this hobby. And we also have our business, so Marked Out Collectibles. And so this is a way to kind of capture all of that under one umbrella.
Yeah, when I first started the Facebook group and named it, the Marked Out Collectibles marketplace, official marketplace, whatever it was, I think that actually predated your involvement. That was just me sort of doing my little rinky-dink bulk signings and selling a couple things a month, basically, on this group. At that point, we still had, which we still have now, but like the markedout.com forum was going. And honestly, I know Greg and Class 316 are going to cry when I say this, but I mean, let's face facts. In 2025, the message board is pretty much dead. Of all the people we have sharing these great reports, if we said to them all, hey, just join this .com forum, then update your photos, upload your photos onto these different hosting sites, then code the links, and no one would do this. We wouldn't have this. So I think honestly, our growth and the Facebook group has grown. We've damn near doubled our size in the last couple of months. It's just off to the races every single day. We're gaining people, and it's I kept thinking why would if I'm joining this group because I saw a sick topic on the hobby or a great report and I read this marketplace, why would I get that? It was not even close to capturing what we are. So I think this is sort of the acceptance that message board software is a dying breed and that the Marked Out forum is never going to really be again. So then here it is, sort of, I think, honestly, Marked Out, you could argue, is bigger right now as far as impressions and eyeballs on this Facebook group than it ever was, even in the heyday. If Sonny coming on at midnight fighting with people, I think this might be our peak.
Yeah, it's what's funny about it is, I mean, look, there was an exigent reason for doing this when we did it. All this stuff is true, but a little quirk of Facebook is that once a group hits 5,000 members, there are certain things you can't change about it. And one of those things is the name. So once you're at 5,000 members, you can't change the name. And so now, look, we're not at 5,000 yet, but due to the rapid growth, we could be looking down the barrel of 5,000 not that far into the future. And that would cause a change to be made under the gun to keep the metaphor going, as opposed to, of our own volition. So we thought it was the right time to have that conversation. I think there were some critiques that the name doesn't fully capture the photo op only collectors, but really it's a hard way. It's really hard to encapsulate every aspect of this hobby into one. I think the name does a great job with that.
I think we really should have done the Marked Out Fake Chiropractors Club, but
honestly, that'll be the secret. If we ever get big enough to have a secret group, the Fake Chiropractors Club. Maybe we were joking about this before, coming up with a T-shirt, like the fake chiropractors club or something like that, as like an inside joke for hardcore marked out people. So I'm curious if anyone besides me would actually wear a fake chiropractors club shirt. But I think it's pretty funny.
I mean, it sounds like a WCW like 2000s like Vince Russo stable. So I mean, I'm sure someone out there would want it.
Yeah, and I look, I have as much medical knowledge as a real chiropractor. So anyway,
Stop insulting chiropractors, damn it.
I was holding that one in my pocket for this moment. Oh God. It's funny because then our socials have been kind of going wild this week. It's funny because when you got those meta glasses, and so we've really kind of been you've been putting up some awesome TikToks, and I've been like commenting when people comment to try and kind of gin up some interest in them and getting people talking about them. And one of those TikToks caught fire a little bit.
Oh yeah, the Monster Mania Ghost Town tumbleweeds rolling by video that I put up got a lot of engagement. And I mean, some of the engagement was like, foolish. Like you had one guy that was arguing that the late August show, which is always in late August every single year, was poorly attended because it's in late August and like people are getting ready to go back to school. And I commented back about how that literally happens every year to much bigger crowds. And I mean, that's the thing. You have some people that are just in like complete like fanboy mode and they can't face facts. Then you had other people on the flip side of the coin that are like complaining that prices are higher than $20 combos and that the hobby is eating itself, which I mean, that's clearly not the case. I think the reality is Monster Mania just booked a crappy lineup. And then cancellations made it a little worse.
I do think that cons in general are at, and we probably don't agree about this 100%, but I do think cons are at a little bit of a breaking point. And Tom was alluding to it before. If guests have certain expectations for what they're going to earn, and they don't earn what they want to earn, then they're not going to come. And if fans aren't there to pay them what they want to earn, then they're not going to earn it. And so it's this whole ecosystem that has to be maintained. And I think where we are at a little bit of a precipice here, a lot of the guests in the con circuit, we've seen them so many times, the same people over and over. And I think the difference is when you're seeing the same people over and over, but the guest is $20, then you go, whatever, I'll get another one. It's cool. It's okay. It's $20. But when a guest is 80 and you see them again, you're like, I'm good. Even if that need to complete the collection was satisfied the first time, I think it's the lack of repeat business, because like years ago in the infancy of the con circuit, the Night of the Living Dead cast and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre cast and the Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 cast and all those people, they did tons and tons and tons of cons and got tons of repeat business at those cheap prices. But you're not going to get the repeat business at the high prices. So I think there's a lot, because Tom also alluded to, and now I'm talking about our interview after the fact, that there are certain people who just show up to cons, and regardless of who the guests are, we've talked about the super fans, right?
Yeah.
That population, I think, is dwindling. Those are the old timers who are kind of being phased out because they can't really afford to do the kinds of things that the cons are charging for now. So I do think we're at a little bit of a crossroads here in the hobby. Not every show can be Steel City or New York Comic Con or Rhode Island. There needs to be space for smaller shows. And I think one of the crises, if you want to call it a crisis, one of the crises with Monster Mania is they can't decide if they're a big show or a small show. That one of the things that the reason why I loved that show historically was that it was a pretty big show with a small show feel. But when you go in there and David Harbour is charging whatever $130, whatever crazy number it is, in a private room with no table photos, that's not a small time show feel.
No. And listen, I absolutely the the current model and sort of the place that the economy is at convention wise is at a bit of a tipping point. I agree completely. When I post what I post, the stuff that I get done, and this is a me thing, you don't even do this at our situation, but like I'm not paying table prices on Sting or Bret Hart since we have our deal in place that, you know, so I'm paying less when I'll just post that I got 15 things. If I was paying $80-$90 each, I would not be doing this. So I completely understand for a regular person walking up to the table, they're not in a position to, you know, who would? That's you're talking a mortgage payment damn near on getting all this stuff signed. You can't do that. But at the same time, I mean, I don't really think that the market has sort of tipped just at that one day in Cherry Hill in late August. I think that's sort of more a product of just a lineup that isn't all that exciting and enticing. Not so much. I mean, I think it's all part of it. If the prices were cheap enough and it was old school pricing, people would kind of find reason to be excited about this you know, whatever is there. But I think it's definitely, I think Monster Mania has to raise their game a little bit.
I just don't know how you do it. I mean, you know, they had Luis Guzman. He was fresh. He's on Wednesday, which is one of the hottest shows on TV. Didn't draw, you know? I mean, I don't think he's a headliner, but he really didn't draw. So it's tricky. And the headliners that do draw, I mean, you can only get Robert Englund or someone of that level so often before, you know, and look, they had David Arquette, who didn't draw either. So I don't know.
I think this means only one thing. The next time at Cherry Hill, you got to bring back Skeet and Lillard.
I mean, it's a joke, but those guys draw. So
I'm actually not joking. I think that's exactly what they probably will do because they will draw. I guess they keep their prices reasonable enough for headliners where the fans feel as though they're being treated right by these guys. And, you know, they just make them feel all warm and fuzzy and several other things. And it just keeps going. That is the type of headliner they need.
But again, I'm not sure that's sustainable long-term either.
It's not. Absolutely it's not. That's the problem.
I feel bad because, I mean, these are, you know, it's a show that's always done right by the collecting community. And they are, I mean, they're not blameless in this, the pickle that they've gotten themselves into. But I think they are largely kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, I mean, don't take my criticism here of the lineup as any sort of an indictment on Monster Mania. I absolutely love that show. I have no interaction with the Hagans, but I mean, I don't hear bad things about them. I hear only good things. It's, you know, family-run business. They always seem to, you know, no one gets ripped off. It's always on the up and up. I absolutely hope that, you know, decades from now, I'm still going to Monster Mania. So I hope that this was just a blip. And, you know, everything's filled up in the future and all is well. And, you know, I also realize that we're only judging this show off of, I mean, Saturday at noon is basically the best time to judge it. But, you know, hopefully it was successful overall and that they managed to put together a better drawing one next time.
So we do have a report. Vinny went to the Cauliflower Alley Club in Las Vegas. That is like it historically was a wrestler only get together once a year that they started allowing fans to. It was a bunch of years ago now, and but it's still very unlike any other con. It's very low key. It's very informal. It's really about it's like an award ceremony and celebration and stuff like that. So I mean, he had all kinds of you know, pictures and stories from the Cauliflower Alley Club annual meeting.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, I don't know if I would ever actually want to make the trip to Las Vegas, not for cost, just for the amount of time in your life that you're spending. Like for me, like, I don't know if I would ever want to travel for that, but it looks awesome. If this was like a drive, I'm sure I would check it out just to say I experienced it once. And I mean, as always, Vinny got some awesome 8x10s signed. Some of the photos he finds, I don't even know where the hell he finds them in any sort of a high quality. Like he had the Bushwhacker shot versus Carl and Steve Urkel from Family Matters. that I'm sure he'll be adding Reginald to a chiller. Like he always finds just those cool, obscure prints, and he has some great stuff from Vegas.
What else we got? You had a deal, actually. You have to explain this deal because I still, if I'm being honest, don't 100% understand how it came to fruition. But you had a deal with Rockin' with Dan to get posters back that you had previously sold to him.
Listen, the whole thing is...
Did I get it right? That's what happened, right?
Basically, yes. So Rockin' with Dan, as he often does, because he's awesome, he bought from our most recent Ric Flair signing. We had up for pre-order the 11x17 metallic posters. He picked up a couple of the 94 Bash at the Beach and the 94 Halloween Havoc to have Ric Flair sign. All of a sudden, these posters are printed sitting in my office, ready to go for a big event. And he hits me up and he's like, hey, I think I'm remembering this correctly, that he was somehow doing a private signing with Hulk Hogan. I'm not sure who he was with or who else was involved. And he's like, can you get these to me like overnight? So I said, sure. I overnighted them to him. He got them all signed by Hulk Hogan. And he brought them back in person to New York and handed them off to me to get Flair to sign them. And the second,
so they were already signed. Wait, so they were already signed by Hogan when they were back in your hands for Flair.
Yes, when Flair signed them,
that's an unusual circumstance. Got it. Okay,
it is. The whole thing is it's wild. So I was instantly jealous, and I thought to myself, "Damn, I really should have sent my personal copies down with his and just paid him to get my Hulk stuff done." But as I tend to be, I'm spending enough already, and I figure, oh, well, I'll do that next time. And if you've listened to our episode from a couple weeks ago or weren't living under a rock, you are well aware the Hulkster is no longer with us. And I realized in doing my little like personal sort of inventory of what I have for Hulk in my own collection, realized that those prints would never be completed unless I sent it to some of our less trustworthy vendors out there who definitely could have gotten it done. Probably quicker than Rockin' with Dan sent them to me. But anyway, so I reached out to Dan and I said, hey, do you still have any of those prints left that you'd be willing to sell? And it turned out he had one of each. And it turned out he gave me an insane price that I'm not even going to put out there publicly because I don't want to get him in any sort of hot water with anyone else expecting similar deals. And, you know, absolutely appreciated. These will be pried from my cold, dead hands by my disgusted wife who decides to just throw it all into a dumpster probably in you know, hopefully several decades. But I mean, absolutely in my collection. And the fact that I like cleaned up and like formatted these to the poster size, got Flair to sign them myself, you know, overnighted them to get Hulks on. They had a weird like sentimental feel as well. So I'm absolutely overjoyed to have them in my collection. Thank you to Rockin' with Dan. If you have the Whatnot app, absolutely follow and subscribe to Rockin' with Dan. He sells stuff at absolute steals. He has, you know, awesome ratings. You know, your business is well protected with Dan.
Yeah, so it's kind of a wild story. But they are back in your collection where I'm sure they are just sitting in a box and will be sitting in a box, you know, for the rest of your life. For your information, they are currently laying on my little like recliner chair in the office in top loaders, covered by a stack of inventory. So there. That's somehow worse. But there they are, nonetheless. You sent me a funny story that I don't even know how to react to it. Really, because I wasn't home. I forget where I was. But I see the message. I'm like, what is going on here? Because the thumbnail of the picture that you sent me is this. Just all right. Just put yourself in my shoes for a second. You get some kind of link from Dana in a text. I open the app and I see the thumbnail to the link is this woman sitting down, very kind of scantily clad, with in a kind of a provocative pose, and then Chris Brown like lunging at her sexually. And I'm like, what is going on? What are you sending me? So why don't you explain what you sent me?
Well, I think you kind of described it already. That's what I sent you. But anyway, there are Chris Brown is on a tour and he does a meet and greet. And it's been gaining some traction And I think now it's actually reaching a boiling point where apparently for $1,250, there is a meet and greet that includes a photo op. And in that photo op, I mean, Chris Brown will give you a pap smear. He'll basically do anything that you want him to do. It's honestly a matter of time before someone accuses him of like sexual assault for touching them, inappropriately. Someone's going to eventually ruin it for all the other weird women out there that want to be fondled by a woman beater and also a very talented musician. And yeah, it's just interesting. It really tied into what we were discussing in previous episodes about photo ops sort of being like these like vehicles for like sexuality and like gratification, which is entirely and totally what these women are getting them for, and clout and all of the above. And then you have some dudes are doing it, and like they take like most of the dudes are taking like a regular like dude photo with him, but they're still paying $1,250. And I think those are actually getting met with a little bit more ridicule than the women that are being like molested in the photo. And just funny enough, I remarked to you where the price isn't even that objectionable for me. Like, honestly, what's keeping me from doing it is that I know it's going to hit coworkers and family and other people's algorithms, and they'll see me on some sort of a complex article about fans paying $1,250 to meet Chris Brown. And I've already lived that TMZ article with Stallone super fans pay whatever the hell we paid to meet our hero, and having people I hadn't spoken to in years messaging me like, you're on TMZ, right? And so I can't brace for that again. I can't deal with that again. So I think Chris Brown
what you're saying is no Chris Brown $1,250 photo op.
I mean, for now, probably not. Unless I really decide to have him pull my panties down for $1,250. I may even buy a pair just to, I mean, honestly, that would be hilarious if I went in dressed like that, and I'd probably make the money back just in like viral hits and like channel growth. But
so, one of your what do we call them again? Your prediction, bold predictions,
or incorrect predictions, as most of mine have been. But go on.
Yeah. So Macaulay Culkin is back for round 2 of his Home Alone tour. I really didn't look at the link too carefully. Are they playing Home Alone, or are they playing Home Alone 2?
Home Alone again.
All right. So it's just round 2 with a secondary market, so different towns basically than last year, but it's a little bit different. They have a VIP option, but that VIP option gives you the opportunity to buy autographed merchandise at the merch table. It does not give you any kind of photo op. There is, however, a $200 add-on photo op at least some of the stops on this tour. It would seem to indicate that's probably going to be added at other stops. We don't know exactly, but they've kind of structured it a little bit differently. So, I mean, we both said the last time we were shocked that they weren't selling autographed items at the merch table, and now they are.
Yeah, and let's just sort of address the elephant in the room. Do we expect him to be signing and selling Home Alone posters and photographs or anything of that nature? What do you think?
What you mean? Yeah, I do. He'll be signing them, but he'll be selling Home Alone stuff for sure.
You think? I was thinking he would just probably have like tour stuff. I don't know if copyright wise, if he even could, would he be able to sell like 11x17 movie posters?
Oh, they get headshots and stuff. I'm sure he'd be fine. I think he'd be fine. I do.
I guess
maybe not movie posters. We'll see.
I mean, we won't be there personally, right? You have no need for another op.
No, I wouldn't. No, no.
Unless you're feeling insomnia and you want to sleep again during the show.
Let's be very clear. If there's one thing that I've never felt in my life is insomnia. Yeah, it's true. You could say that's a blessing, I guess. I've never felt that. I've never had an inability to sleep. In fact, I am an expert at falling asleep. I can do it anywhere at any time. It's one of my talents, you could say, for whatever that's worth. So it's a funny thing. Also, Kamala Harris is doing a meet and greet in Washington D.C. You get a signed book and a photo op, but it's $300. Any temptations here?
If it was in New York, I'd be in. I don't think that's not a bad price. a former vice president, the first female vice president. I mean, thoughts aside about her long-term viability as a presidential candidate aside, I mean, $300 combo, I don't think is that unreasonable. Ice Cube was like 4 times that almost.
Yeah, it's funny because my thinking, I went straight to, if I thought she ever had a chance of being president, it's kind of a no-brainer to just go do it. You know,
I mean, if I thought she had a chance to be president, I think I would actually travel to DC, or at least I'd consider it.
Right, because DC is not a bad. We've traveled further for less.
Yeah.
So,
I think it's a fair price. I think it's a fair price. I mean, listen, at this point, my journey to get a president, I'm nowhere close. I have Newt Gingrich. I have Cory Booker. I think at this point, I think my dark horse hope is still that Mark Cuban ends up running for president because I have him. But I don't think that's going to happen either.
Yeah, you know, I take responsibility for the Cory Booker one. I convinced you to do that. Listen, we were trying to figure out what the field was looking like that year.
And listen, I personally think all politicians, regardless of their political party, stuck. And I will totally vote based on my combo and or inventory needs. So if I have a photo op, let's say I'm trying to think of a name. Let's say Seth Green is running for president, and I have the op. I mean, Seth Green might have my vote just to give me a valid president.
That's one way. Rather than trying to get someone who's running for or becomes president, the trick is pick someone you already have and then try and get them elected.
Listen, if that makes me more democratic than you, I mean, so be it.
It's really the dumbest thing I've ever said, but it's so comports with the hobby so perfectly. Oh my god, that's hilarious. What else do we have on here? Wicked Ink Wednesday. I tell you, Wicked Ink Wednesday continues to do well. That was a great idea.
I mean, it was my idea, so I'm not gonna, I don't want to act, cocky here. But yes, every week the users blow me away. There's like insane like treasures that just keep popping up. It's a lot of fun.
So yeah, my brother makes his first appearance on for Wicked Ink Wednesday. Let me tell you that he had that the Freddy phone he got from Etsy with someone that made a tongue on the phone for that scene from Nightmare on Elm Street that he got signed by Robert Englund and Heather Langenkamp, and it's a pretty sick item. I'm not gonna lie, but he is tortured because he wants to buy some kind of acrylic like display case for it, and he's discovered how much acrylic display cases cost, and he is not a happy camper.
Why doesn't he just throw it in your parents' basement and let the mildew form?
I sympathize. I genuinely sympathize with having to deal with displaying stuff, especially when you have this really cool item. Like, I want to put it out. I want people. Who the hell is coming to my house? Nobody. But I love the idea that these hypothetical people can see it. And
you don't want anyone to see your cool items. You always just bury them and tell me that you can't put it out.
I have a couple of cool items in my living room. I have first of all, I have my Bernie Sanders thing. I have my Saves the Day display. I have all of my large size Game of Thrones Funko Pops out. That's a decent amount. I have my Freddy glove up under the TV. I have some stuff. The problem is displaying stuff in a way that does not make you look mentally ill, and that's challenging. Because when you are mentally ill, then there's no way to kind of do it without looking it.
Listen, I guess I can't argue with that.
Also really sick thing. Mark Miller, 16 times. He posted his. He had the presidential inauguration ticket stub signed by Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale.
I actually read that 4 times.
Extraordinary item. It's an extraordinary thing.
I read that 4 times while putting together this document today because I'm like, I must be reading this wrong. It has to be signed by one of them, or it's signed by Mark Miller's wife, or something. Like how could this be? Who the hell you attended the inauguration and or got a ticket stub after the fact? Either way, and then got both to sign it. That's insane. But I mean, if anyone was going to do it, it would be Mark. So I'm not surprised.
We've talked about him before, but one of the coolest guys in the hobby, truthfully. And I never knew this existed. I really wonder what his collection looks like. I wonder like how many like crazy gems he has that he just hasn't told anyone about, or at least us.
I wonder if he got Jimmy Carter, and I don't want to go down a presidential wormhole here, but I wonder if he got that done when he used to do that church gig like every other weekend or whatever the hell that was. Which honestly, that whole thing happened at a time when we weren't making these crazy trips. I feel like that's something we should have done.
Yeah, Jimmy Carter is one of those guys, again, you know how many times where he was doing stuff and you'd be like, yeah, but Jimmy Carter will be around forever because he's already old, you know? And he was building houses with Amnesty International and stuff like that. And you just kind of go, yeah, it's Carter. He'll be around forever. And then until he wasn't. And then this is a theme of this hobby, you know? But it was just an extraordinary item, just a piece of history that you just go, that's super. I love that stuff. And then IVP videos doing a run-in on this week with I gotta find out the story how he got these, but he posted a photo of Diamond Dallas Page, his ring-worn and autographed tights that he wore during the Ready to Rumble movie, as well as some episodes of Nitro.
Yeah, it's really sick, and part of me, the more I see stuff like this, it just pushes me closer to wanting to get into the gear. But if you got into gear 10 years ago, it was an entirely different market with entirely different prices. And nowadays, I mean, everyone's aware of what it's worth. And even people probably, I don't even want to think about what these indie people, I actually know. Some of these indie guys and girls are charging like, $150, $200 right now for gear. And it's like I don't want to assume what Chris paid for this, but I guarantee it's a fraction of what he would have paid now.
For sure. It's that kind of stuff. To me, it's cool abstractly. I'll admire it from afar, knowing that I really would not want to own that. But I do like it, and it was I love the story. I want to like the movie Ready to Rumble because it's wrestling, and because I do have the signed poster. It's the worst movie ever made. Honestly, maybe it's the second worst movie ever made behind Billy Madison, but it's awful. But it's such a cool item. I went crazy when I saw it.
First chiropractors, now Billy Madison.
You know what's funny? This is apropos of nothing hobby related, but I have, anyone who knows me knows that I have a deep Sandler hate. And it's not for the guy. I mean, everyone who's ever met him in any context says what a really awesome guy he is. So that's not, I just hate his work. And I know it's funny because this weekend I decided to go on a little bit of a Sandler kick to see if maybe I've given him like a raw deal. Maybe I've been wrong because I haven't watched his stuff in almost 30 years. So maybe I was wrong about Sandler. And so I decided to do a Billy Madison, Happy Gilmore double feature. Okay. And so maybe you could you're a Sandman fan, right? So here is my result. I think Billy Madison is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. I loved Happy Gilmore.
Interesting. I'm shocked. I mean, Billy Madison, I think, is probably the high point of his like real just childish humor. I would have probably recommended you do Big Daddy and Happy Gilmore.
I've seen Big Daddy. It's all right, but but supposedly those are his big two.
I'm shocked you liked Happy Gilmore.
Oh, I think it was hilarious. The Bob Barker scene was hilarious. There are a few. It's funny. It was genuinely funny.
Now you need Sandman.
I must not get carried away. Although I do regret that I didn't get the villain, because the villain was at a show recently that we were at. Right?
Yeah, Christopher McDonald. He was somewhere.
He was a chiller.
Where? Maybe. This is a story for a different day, and we will get to it one day. But another actor that you kind of hated their work, not the person, and I dragged you to get them with me because I had a stack of items, was Robin Williams.
That one hurts a little bit. I'm not going to lie.
Well, listen, at least you can't. And moving on to some convention ads. New York Comic Con has added Tatiana Maslany and R.L. Stein.
I'm the only thing I have to say is Tatiana Maslany, whatever, no interest. I can't. I mean, I don't know what like you have. They're continuing to book this person whose show was canceled in record time for there being no interest in it. So I don't know who the hell's going to see her, but whatever. God bless. R.L. Stein. I'm curious if they do an NYCC R.L. Stein booking through like his publishing company, where he'll sign freebies if you buy the book, or if they're going to do what they've been doing for his other convention appearances, where they're going to charge, certain fees for Funko Pops, blah, blah, blah. So I'm curious how that will go. Are you going to finally get R.L. Stein at the show?
If I have time. If it's one of the ones through the publishing company, I will not have the time, so I won't. It looked like I didn't look super deep. I forget where it was when I clicked the link where I was, but it looked like there's some weird thing about like reservations and stuff. So I don't think it's going to be a just pay for what you want type of event like it was up in White Plains. I think my R.L. Stein streak will continue.
Monster Mania Oaks. They announced they're starting off their lineup. They announced Michael Rooker and Thomas Jane. Thoughts? Terrible.
Not good.
I mean, look, here's the thing. These are both good guests in the sense that they will draw some people there. But we were joking before we went on the air that there's not a lot of innovation here. There's nothing to get excited about. Thomas Jane was just at Steel City. Michael Rooker's been, go to a con and trip and fall down and you'll stumble into Michael Rooker. He's everywhere. And so I don't know what, I'm hoping. Part of me is hoping Monster Mania does something special for Oaks, but then again, I've already committed to not going to Oaks. One of the things about Oaks, it's like the weekend before Thanksgiving, and I know, like, I hate to pretend like I'm a normal person, but like a lot of normal people have things to do that weekend. It's a very busy weekend. You got, family stuff and preparation for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. So for me, that's just not a feasible thing.
Isn't that the weekend you buy pies from like ancient black ladies?
It is. What's so funny is I hadn't seen them for a minute, and I actually ran into that. It's like 3 or 4 generations of these women who bake like authentic Southern pies, and I ran into them at the farmers market. Not last weekend; it was the weekend before, and they're amazing, but they're ridiculous because you go up to if you go to the farmers market at 10 a.m., they have their tent and their table, and you go to them like everything is sold out already, and so you're like, why didn't you bring more? Like, you sell out every time. So you really have to get them at the ass crack of dawn, basically, to make sure that they have what you want. Because you obviously, at Thanksgiving time, you want the sweet potato pie. Like, it's a no-brainer. And the pecan pie, it's a no-brainer. So, yes, those are my ladies. And that's the weekend when I buy those pies. I love them.
Well, I guess, what can the Hagans do to compete with old ladies' sweet potato pie? I'm not even joking. It actually sounds like it's a really good pie. Here's what I would like them to do, or rather what I would not like them to do, because I too would like to skip this show. So far, I'm 0 for 2, which, that's for whatever that's worth. The Conjuring, the final Conjuring movie comes out in a few weeks. This, to me, would be the show where you get the nun, there's a bunch of the kids from Annabelle movies that seem to be hitting the different horror cons, who they probably aren't even kids anymore since time flies. They're probably young adults now. But I would load up on the Conjuring universe. I would try to get Patrick and Vera, as I've been calling for years, if that's even remotely possible. I don't know. And that's what I would do. But I personally hope they keep booking people like Michael Rooker, who I do not need. I'm imagining John Bernthal is going to be next, because you get a Thomas Jane Bernthal Punisher up, like Pittsburgh had, and you start building a little Walking Dead group up. So that would be another one I don't need, but that would make sense given who they've booked already.
So yeah, part of me is kind of glad that nothing is too crazy yet. I mean, granted, it's 2 guests and they always book like 20 guests, so I'm sure something will come up, but hopefully I can ignore them to skip on that show. Chiller Theater also added Joey Chestnut, which I commented was a pretty cool ad. The guy, the eating champion, and a bunch of other people from League of Their Own. That's a kind of a cool little reunion they have going on. Lots of cool little names you don't see around that often, which is neat. So yeah, Chiller continues to add some pretty good names.
Listen, we haven't seen a convention guest with Joey Chestnut's skill set since Sonny was out of jail.
Oh, come on. Boo. Chill Out added Dennis Rodman, and I know I'm going to say this name wrong, Chris Fenn I should have looked it up beforehand. I didn't. From Slipknot. Dennis Rodman always does well. Not going to lie, Chris Fenn, we saw him at Steel City. It was his first con. Didn't really do any business.
I felt bad for him at Steel City because he was like, they like posted on the social media page that he was like down before the public were let in. Like he was doing everything right. And like we've always said that like if you're the first one down, that being the first one down, there's a certain like draw in the sense that people want to spend money and they see you're there, the line's not built yet, and maybe you get an impulse sale or two. But I don't know, man. He did not do great. Hopefully Chill Out is a little bit more his wheelhouse. I kind of feel like Monster Mania, Cherry Hill would be his spot. And he seems to keep doing every show but Monster Mania, Cherry Hill. So I don't really know why. But I don't know. I'm not a Slipknot guy. I have no desire to get him. There's no temptation at all. And I'll be honest, there's not many people in these like announcements that I don't at least think about for a millisecond. But not a slightest bit of thought.
I think Slipknot in particular, they have the masks and this and that. It's about the aesthetic and the presentation. So to see just some dude sitting there, it doesn't carry the same weight, especially if you're like, look, if there's an opportunity, I'm not a Slipknot fan by any means, but if to get a gimmicked, for lack of a better word, or costumed Slipknot group, I'd be tempted. But also one of the issues is these bands, to only book one member of a band is difficult. You're limiting especially not the main, star from the band, that you're not going to be, you're only going to get the hardcores. You're not going to get your casual fans like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more of a rap guy than a rock band guy, but I also feel like, honestly, the fans are more excited about the singers. If you're not singing, I mean, I don't think they care quite as much.
Steel City Con for the December show has added Robert Patrick. So now here's a question. What would it take to get you to Steel City in December?
Well, I mean, listen, maybe Mr. Rogers can send a couple puppets that weren't there already back to the Heinz Center. I don't know, man. I mean, Robert Patrick is a regret. He's a name I want. But, I mean, I've also looked at him at several cons and pushed him off. So, I mean, to travel to Pittsburgh in December to get him feels insane.
No, they would need more than that for me, for sure.
Yeah. But, I mean, at the same time, I wouldn't, if I could navigate the line, which I don't know if I could, I wouldn't mind adding Linda Hamilton to my sick Children of the Corn print. So that would be somewhat tempting. Freddie, forget it. I don't know. I mean, I know the Sons of Anarchy thing is going to do nothing for me. Even if they booked Ryan Hurst, I've already spent so much on Charlie. I don't know if I'd get a Jax and Opie group up. Maybe I would, but see, that's not something that's going to get me to want to go, because that would just be more wasted money on foolishness. So honestly, it would take a big, big, big name. If Robert Patrick does this show and dies soon thereafter, I think I'll make peace with that.
I just need him on my Laserdisc. That don't even mess with. I need him on that Laserdisc.
So you got to go to Pittsburgh.
I'm not going to Pittsburgh for that. He needs someone that needs to get him in before the end of the year. Rhode Island announced Don Bluth, which is great. It's great and horrible. I'll tell you why. It's great because you can get them on your American Tail item, but now I passed on the voice actor because they didn't have Don Bluth, and now I don't know what to do. So I'm probably going to just pass. But
here's the deal, which I immediately when this was announced, I texted Zach Linder and I said, "In your face," because like he's been playfully teasing me about Don Bluth. He went to like Kansas, wherever the hell he was, to get Don Bluth. And then he reminded me, and I'm not sure if you remember this, but he got that sick sketch out of Don Bluth. I think Don Bluth wanted like $500 for the sketch, and Zach Linder negotiated and got it down. but it was still like a several $100 add-on. So I already told Zach that I will 1000% cheap out and half-ass, like I tend to do. I won't drop the extra couple hundred on that. But I know with your mind, if you get Don Bluth, you would have to get that. You could not have a mediocre Don Bluth. You would need like the greatest Don Bluth to ever be.
Well, why would you want something if it's not the best of that thing? Otherwise, it's not worth anything.
Well, nothing. I mean, what in life is the best? The car I drive isn't the best. The clothes I wear aren't the best.
You have to have some aspiration to be the best something. So for me, though, I can't stress enough. If I get an autograph that's substandard, I'm disgusted with it. It not only doesn't scratch any itch, I'm repulsed by it. It makes me sick. I hate it. You're laughing at me, but it's true. I don't want imperfect. I want to have the best. I want when someone goes and they see my autograph to say, "Damn, that's sick. That I've never seen that before." And I know that's not achievable a lot of the time, but when it is achievable, I try.
Is the lighting in your parents' basement even good enough for people to be able to see how good this stuff is?
It's in. First of all, there's not that much stuff down there, but it's in totes. It's in Rubbermaid bins. It's just there's two Rubbermaid totes down there. That's all I got. It's mostly wrestling figures, honestly.
I mean, listen. Here's the reality. If I aspired to have the absolute greatest autograph in every instance, I would any real life aspirations I would have to go on trips, to eventually send my child to college, to not wind up homeless, to not have roommates in Baltimore selling my stuff to a thrift store, like all of these things that I still.
What? It's a deep cut. That's a very inside.
Oh, I thought you said I cut. Sorry.
No.
I thought my mic went out. Yeah, so I mean, I have to draw the line somewhere, and sadly for me, I mean, I gotta scrimp out on a drawing of a mouse, I guess, on my my print.
I don't know. I don't agree with that philosophy. It's frustrating. Photo with Friday was I forgot to talk about the rest of Rhode Island ads first. To be honest, it's no one that interesting. Joel David Moore doing a run. Thora Birch been around a few times, and Annika Noni Rose from that Disney cartoon,
The Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
Which honestly, I have to make sure she's like the main voice. But I mean, I've actually been developing a bit of a Disney princess collection that I will blame on my wife. But I mean, I would have been doing it regardless. So I probably need her.
Yeah, that's an easy pass for me. I actually made I made a very decent profit on Jodie Benson, but back when she did NYCC a couple of years back, and her prices were real low, but her secondary started skyrocketing, and so I bought a bunch with her, and I sold it all at a huge margin. But now she's wised up, and her stuff is top dollar, and I'm not interested in investing enough at bulk to make any real money there. So other than that, I have no interest in any of that stuff. But good for you. So we did a photo with Friday again, bunch of cool things. Dave posted a photo of Dan Aykroyd from one of the Crystal Vodka signings. Can you please remind me why we never did one of those?
I have no good reason for that. That's more upsetting than even Jimmy Carter at the church, because I mean he was reasonably close, somewhere in the 3-4 state radius, which we are sick enough to call reasonable. I don't know. I think it was never spelled out necessarily that he was doing photos for sure, even though we knew it was going to happen because it always happened. I don't know. Are they still going on at all?
I haven't seen one in a hot minute. I think there was a run. It's many states away a few months back, so there is always the possibility that he'll do them, but nowhere near the frequency. He was doing them often at a time.
He's a guy that really should do a con, but he won't.
It's strange. He'll do he's doing a private, and then he did these Crystal Vodkas. So I don't know. I can't believe someone couldn't get him into a con and be like, "Yo, we'll Crystal Vodka will be the official sponsor of this con for free. Get in." It's such a no-brainer. I don't know why he's not doing it.
Maybe you could run a third show in New Jersey that same weekend and bring out Dan Aykroyd.
Greg 2600 dusted off his photo with Terrence Stamp, who passed this week. Very timely shot. And also Martine posted his photo with Brent Hines of Mastodon, the band, who just passed the other day in a motorcycle accident. So it was a very death-filled photo with Friday.
Are we sure our users are not like sort of killing these people just to make their photo with Friday post get more engagement?
I mean, I don't think Terrence Stamp was old and Brent Hines crashed him. Maybe the motorcycle crashed. I mean, I don't know, but certainly it is. I part of me is like, I don't want it to turn into let's post our photos with whoever died this week. Not that I'm criticizing these because they were all sick photos, but neither was a particularly common photo, so it was cool to see them.
I wonder if I'll post Hesh this coming week from The Sopranos.
He died today, right?
Yesterday, I think, late last night.
At the
or Hesh
at the tender age of like 96 or something.
Yeah.
All right, so if you're shopping for autographs, check out www.markedoutcollectibles.com or our eBay store at Marked Out Collectibles. To contact us for any reason, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles official marketplace on Facebook. All links are in the show notes on Facebook and Substack. And if you want your event, product, or brand advertised on episodes of Marked Out Radio, reach out to us today at markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com. Also, if you like what you're hearing, or if you hate it and you're hate listening every single week, please subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, and make sure to leave a rating and or review. We really don't have that many reviews or ratings. We have a couple, but not that many. So a lot of guys listening and not rating us. Please do it. It helps. It helps bump us in the algorithm. So you can leave a rating and or review. You can leave both on Apple Podcasts. You can leave just a rating on Spotify, and you can leave comments, thumbs up or thumbs down on YouTube. All engagement, all comments are appreciated. And so now it is time for our interview with Tom Unger. It was recorded earlier today, so I'm gonna drop the audio in, and then we'll discuss it afterwards. Tom Unger has been promoting the big event wrestling cons in New York for years, more than a decade, and he recently announced that he is running a show in Parsippany, New Jersey, that is directly opposite the Chiller Theater Con, the same time, the same dates. That show is called Chill Out, and he asked to come on. He agreed to come on to give an interview, to give his side of the story as to why the Chill Out Con was booked, and kind of what his philosophy and what his process was for doing it. So, without further ado, our interview with Tom Unger. So we are back once again with Tom Unger of Big Event New York, and also the Chill Out Con here for another interview with us. Welcome back, Tom.
What's up,
How you
Tom?
doing? How's it going, guys?
Okay, so let's jump right into this. So, Tom, of late, we've had a brand new show sort of enter the convention ecosystem. What caused Chill Out to come to exist?
Well, I always wanted to run a Comic-Con, and I was doing another show in Parsippany, and, I did that for, 12 years, and, I brought a lot of people there. I built up a great fan base in that area, for the last 12 years in April and October. And, I had guests booked for their show and sent the deposits, had contracts in that area. I was told that I was not wanted to come there, back there. They didn't want those guests. So I was kind of stuck with where I had money out and, the contracts. So I said, you know what? It's time to do this. I already have the date set up. I found the location, which happens to be very close and a lot bigger. So I said, let's do it. So I went and booked the place. I already had my headline, so my headline is intact, and we went from there. So I really built up, my own fan base there. I would bring in Priscilla Presley. I would get, messages. I'm coming in from France. I'm coming in from overseas. Where is Chiller Theater? So I wasn't just attracting their usual customers. I was bringing my own, and I was promoting, the show as it was my own. And I really built up a fan base, so I didn't want to leave it like that. I didn't want to just leave it and say, I'm done, especially having that kind of money out. I didn't have a choice, so I went with it. And, when one door opens, when one door closes, the other one opens. And I felt it was very positive, to do this. And so I went for it.
So just to be clear, did they say they didn't want your guests, or they just closed the door on you?
They didn't want the guests. They said they were going in a different direction. They wanted to spread out the talent evenly. I missed the last show because I was in Kuwait with Big Show, and some of the other guys did well. Some of the vendors did well, and I guess that was they wanted to keep it that way. So I was told they didn't want my guests. So I really had no choice. So I went and I booked a venue, and it just one thing led to another, and now I got a massive venue. I got 150 vendors coming. I probably got about 80 celebrities coming. So it's just been a whirlwind, So it's something that a lot of the celebrities have been reaching out to me. A lot of the vendors have been reaching out to me. So it really it took off. There was a lot of people waiting for this, and a lot of people that I guess reached out to the other show who they don't respond, or what the case may be. But I got 150 vendors coming to this show, and I'm turning people away at this point, So it was crazy, So it really it was a blessing in disguise, Really, I was happy in the long run that they said I couldn't come, because it allowed me and gave me the motivation to do what I've been wanting to do for the last 5 or 6 years. I have my wrestling show. I tried to incorporate like a horror con with it at one time, and it just didn't work. I had to, I brought Christina Ricci. She didn't do well there, so I tried to incorporate like a horror con with wrestling, and it didn't work. So I've been thinking about doing my own thing, for multiple years now, and this just gave me the motivation to do so. So I really, I feel it was a blessing in disguise.
And just as a follow-up question for our listeners, and even for us who are, we're not booking guests of this caliber, is it standard to sort of lock in these commitments before the con you're bringing them to would give the approval, or is that just the way it normally works, that you get a yes, it doesn't really matter?
Well, I booked William Shatner, Brad Garrett, and Anne Margaret. Those are 3 legendary names. If any show in the country would tell me that I could come. So I did not expect that. I sent them deposits. We have contracts, in Parsippany, New Jersey, October 24th, October 25th, sent over $100,000 in deposits for those dates in that town. So, I did not expect that. No.
Yeah. I certainly don't understand why you wouldn't want those names at your convention, but
do you have any speculation as to the motivation for it? Because it can't be they don't want Shatner. Shatner draws wherever he goes, right? Shatner's been.
I was told Shatner was already there. He's 95 years old. William Shatner could go anywhere and draw a lot of people. Everybody thinks maybe it's the last time I could see him, or whatever the case may be. But he draws big crowds.
And Margaret hasn't been there in a few years, and Brad Garrett's never been there.
Anyway,
so do you suspect there's some kind of other?
Oh yeah, no. We just didn't see eye to eye. It's basically, if I wanted a hotel room or a flight, it wasn't getting picked up on my side. He thought I was making so much money in the show, and other people that were bringing in a lot less names were getting flights, hotels. So it's been an ongoing issue. So it just came to a boiling point. I think.
Yeah. Well, given the fact that, I understand obviously the date and the location were unavoidable since you had these agreements, but your name is kind of a play off the other show's name. Was your goal, slightly on a competitive, full level, since they kind of, didn't do right by you? Was that part of your motivation?
No, I basically just saying, guys, I'm still here, and then chill out, like everybody, I'm still here. I'm going to do the show. I plan on doing the show. I'm going to run the show. I signed a 3-year deal, with the hotel. I'm running every April and every October, whether they change their dates or not. I'm here to stay, and that's the way it's going to be.
And the plan is to keep the Chill Out name running those.
I mean, we could maybe tweak that. I was thinking maybe doing like big event New Jersey, whatever. But right now, everybody seems to love it. I don't know if they love it for a different reason, but everybody seems to think it's a cool name. And right now, that's the I'm building I got a website going and everything. So right now, that's going to be the name. I might change it. I don't know, but right for now, that's the name moving forward.
Is there any chance that you would reconcile with Chiller and go back to being, under their roof and bringing talent into their shows again?
Absolutely not. I will never. There's no going back. Nope.
All right. So our first listener question. This is from Ari. He asked, so running a competing show, in the same location, same time, is your expectation that people will attend both shows or like one versus the other? And do you expect to bring in people who wouldn't otherwise attend the other show?
Well, I definitely bringing in people that are not attending, the other show, because I've been, I have my own fan base. My own fan base, follows me where I go. And as you guys know, the show is nothing without the guests. I know I said, I've heard you guys, Dana, saying, I'm going out to Dallas because I got to get Mr. T or whatever the case may be. If you don't have the guests, the people are not coming. So regardless, if you don't have the top, the guests, they're not going to show up at your show. So yeah. The show is only as good as the guest list. That's you have your loyal that hang out and like drink and they make a big time at they make a weekend out of it. You have your 150 like loyal people that doesn't matter who say they're going to come, and I'm building that too. I have I got an after party. I've got Jeff Hardy playing in a band afterwards, and right now I booked 300 rooms already. Going into this, which is amazing. So I'm actually very happy with it. But I think that the customers being directly across the street, and I'm charging $10. They're going to come check it out, so they're going to say, what's going on over there? I have a great guest list coming. And I got somebody that I can't believe I actually got. I'm going to announce this week. So for $10 to get in, they're charging $40, $50 for $10. They're going to do both. If they need the guests there, they're going to come.
Yeah, I could see a scenario where that kind of helps both shows. I mean, as it's looking right now, the other show I think has a solid enough lineup that I want to go there, and you have a great lineup that I want to see. So I mean, I don't think for fans they necessarily have to choose one or the other. But I mean, obviously, when it comes to like limited finances, people can only spend so much money. At some point, I guess something's going to have to be sort of a choice has to be made where they spend their money.
Absolutely, I agree.
Do you have any sort of a goal to put that other show out of business, or do you see yourselves running like harmoniously?
I'm absolutely not trying to put them out of it. I have, friends over there. I have the agents that I'm friends with. I have the workers that I'm friends with. I'm absolutely not trying to put them out of business. But I'm still doing my show. I'm going to do my show every April and every October, and I'm going to bring in the guests that I'm going to bring in. So. I don't want anything, negative out of this. It's all positive for me. I'm not playing victim or I'm playing, poor me. I gave this as motivation for me to get better, to build my own show. So, and it seems to be working out. So I'm pretty happy about it.
So you kind of touched on this before, but just to clarify. So and this is from Greg 2600 user. So he says, you had written a post on Facebook saying that Chill Out was necessary because you already had signed contracts for that date. You had already paid you already paid deposits to headliners for that date. We're just clarifying. So the guests that you had paid deposits for were Anne Margaret, Brad Garrett, and Shatner.
Now, first of all, you can't make that guy Greg happy in any way. And it was Anne Margaret, Brad Garrett, and William Shatner is who I had the deposit sent out for, who I had a book already. And I had like Eric Alniak. I had my normal like 5 people that I had ready to go for Chiller, 5-6 people that I was bringing in.
It's funny because to me, like Anne Margaret is she's like a made for chiller kind of guest.
Oh, she's an absolute legend. I have people calling me, like celebrities. They don't even want to get paid. They want to come to meet Ann Margaret. Like women wrestlers, like Kelly. You call me. This time I gotta come. I want to meet Ann Margaret. I don't care. Just get me on the show. Like some Baywatch girl, Brandy Ledford. I want to come back because I want to meet Ann Margaret. I mean, she's a legend. She's a legend. I know she's done the show 9-10 years ago. She hasn't been in this area like 9 or 10 years.
No.
And, we were with her in Steel City, and she was unbelievable, and so she, we got her to come, and I'm very excited about it. She doesn't plan on doing many more of these. I think she's like 84, 85 years old. She's in a wheelchair. So she's, they're getting up in age. So, it's a chance to meet, legends that might not come around. They don't want to travel. They're getting up in age, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's my opinion. I think any show is better for having Ann Margaret on the lineup. I think it's a complete no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, go ahead, sorry.
I have Brad Garrett, right? I signed him exclusively. He's never done a public autograph signing. And he has right now he has like 16 Funko Pops that because he's like a voice actor of like 60 or 70 different movies. Which he was like the voice of Hulk Hogan, which would Hulk Hogan get, and it's the Hulk Hogan Rockin' Wrestling. Like all these people reaching out, can he sign a Hogan Pop? And I'm like, yeah, he was the voice of the cartoon, Funko Pop's the cartoon, so he's sure, and then all these Rockin' Wrestling and Casper and Ratatouille and all these different voices, and then with Everybody Loves Raymond, he's a big name that hasn't been around at all. Doing
Agreed,
any so I'm very happy to have him exclusively, and we're bringing. I'll be in Utah FanX.
FanX, I saw that
in September, and then he's doing the Chill Out show at the end of October.
That Utah show is a great show every year. It really is.
Oh yeah, no, they do it right. I really enjoy going there. Utah's beautiful. They run the show really well, and. I did it last year with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and now I have Brad Garrett, and I actually have Brandy Roderick going there. So,
and speaking of exclusive guests of yours, exclusive talent, listener Dave submitted the following question. He wants to know: will Kramer be at Chill Out, and if so, will he sign his real name or just the character name of Cosmo Kramer?
Oh, he absolutely will sign his real name. That's his name's Michael Richards. We don't know if he'll be there. I signed him exclusively. It was basically for a four private signings. Talked him into doing one public. We don't know if that's going to be at Chill Out or is it going to be in Orlando. We're in the middle of working that out right now. So, but yeah, he'll sign Michael Richards. He asked on the fly to use Cosmo Kramer. Everybody's like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" I don't know. That's what he asked for. So I'm just following the requests of what was asked.
I mean, honestly, it's not that much different from, Paul Rubens ran a lot with the Pee Wee Herman moniker, a little more than even his own. So it's certainly not unprecedented. And
everybody knows Cosmo Kramer. Some people, so it's just, they know the character and, it's more than his real name. So that's what they had asked to do. Everybody thought it was like a goof, but no, I have them exclusively for we're doing it for 18 months. It was supposed to be 4 privates. I talked them into doing one public. I don't know if it's going to be here or Orlando, but we'll be at one of the spots with him.
So you're confident one of those 2 will happen publicly?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident. I mean, anything can happen in this business, but yeah, I'm pretty confident.
Okay, and to keep the Kramer train rolling, we had another listener, Richard. He wanted to know that since Richards is in the mix, have you ever thought about or considered trying for a one-time only Seinfeld reunion? And have you spoken to anyone related to Jerry, Jason, or Julia?
I have spoken to Jason directly. He really has no interest in doing a public signing. Julia, I have never spoken to or reached out. I mean, it would be great. It'd be great. I mean, I think the other show caught wind of what's going on. They started booking all the Seinfeld people, but lower names. But that's I don't know about getting Jace. That'd be very difficult to do. I mean, supposedly, I mean, you guys know better than me. And that like cast piece is probably one of the most difficult pieces to complete. Like even street graphing, like
but because of Michael Richards, he's the hard one.
he's a difficult one, right? Yeah. But yeah, none of these guys, they don't sign much, so that'll be pretty difficult to pull off a reunion.
Yeah, honestly,
Jerry signs, George signs, Jason signs. I heard Julia's can be squirrely once in a while, and then I've heard people tell stories, and Dana, you could back me up on this. I believe that Michael Richards has told people that he will only sign if they have the other three first.
That's possible. I've never personally experienced that. That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure.
I heard that story not that long ago. Someone told me that.
It could be. I mean, I know that that we could do cast pieces. Obviously, the cast pieces are going to be more expensive because it's difficult to complete, and they charge more for a cast piece, which I never agree with the upcharging of stuff. But that's the way the contracts are built. So, but the cast pieces are definitely difficult to complete with all of them.
So there will be an upcharge when you have Richards, and you're advertising for it for people that have like cast pieces that are, basically complete. Okay, that makes sense. But honestly, I think Jerry Seinfeld would sooner like set fire to himself than actually. I just can't picture him at a public convention dealing with fans all day.
I can't either. With Michael. It happened to be the fires were going on in California. His home burnt down. He was living in a hotel, and he originally he wanted to have something to do and get out, and now he's doing some like a book tour. I think he's doing, but I had gotten him a time where he just wanted to get out. He was living in a hotel. His whole house had burnt down. So. I got him at the right time. I was trying for a long time to get him.
That's exciting. I'll definitely. I'm not one that gets on a plane often, but I mean, if he's down in Orlando, I'll make the trip.
Okay. You might not have to, but we'll see.
And then listener Marcus, he's also submitted the question. There's a little bit of a deviation, but it's related to your exclusive people. So you've had guys like Hook and Bryan Danielson as exclusive talent for a while, but they really haven't been booked too frequently. Is there a particular reason, and any chance that we'll see them at any cons in the near future?
So I had booked Hook, at the the prime of like AEW. I overpaid big time. I don't really know what's going on in AEW. I don't know if he's actively, on the show or what, what's going on. It just seems like the AEW has been increasingly going down, and I paid, a big amount of money, for him to come out. So he's used to this certain amount of money to come. And I just don't think it's no longer warranted in this times right now. When I first brought him out, everybody was really excited. And then the second time, and I think at this time, the amount of money that I'm spending on him, people I've asked, and I gave them the number, and they think I'm crazy. So financially, to bring him out at the number that we have agreed upon, it really doesn't make sense at this time. Bryan Danielson, in the other hand, he's a real family man. I have the Bellas exclusively too, so they've been all over the place. They do this wine. They're doing a wine tour. Nikki signed back with WWE. I'm just getting them back at the end of November. Nikki, so they've been going all over the place. So they have kids, and one of them always likes to watch kids. So he has really no interest in spending his weekends doing the signings when when his wife's out and about doing these different wines. They're promoting their wine and podcasts and everything. So Bree has been all over the place. So I plan on bringing Bryan out. We've discussed it. It's just he just said just right now it it doesn't make sense for him to take up his weekends when he has his kids and his wife's working on her career. So I mean, I plan on bringing him out when he's ready to have a free weekend. But yeah, no, definitely I would like to. I was trying to get him to come to November, but it just didn't work out. But I'll bring him back out around maybe again in March.
That would be awesome.
That sounds good. And what you said about Hook, I think, is definitely interesting because I mean, AEW talent, aside from like the really like upper echelon, you really don't see them drawing quite as well as they did perhaps a couple of years ago. But the thing is, I don't see a lot of their prices really going down.
No, yeah, they were at, they hit, they were the hottest thing in town for a little bit, and so the prices that these guys were giving everybody, and they were getting it, and they were drawing, and now you bring them out, they're not doing the same, so it definitely took a hit, AEW. I think, personally, I don't know what your feelings, but I've seen it, with the talent not drawing, as much as they did. People doesn't seem as much as interested in AEW as they did, a couple of years ago.
Well, have you noticed kind of a trend in that direction that a lot of these guys really don't like when they price themselves to be booked? They don't really necessarily consider or think about how much they're going to draw, whether someone can actually make money on that booking. I've noticed a bunch of guys. You reach out. There's a number that they throw out, and you go, we're not even. I couldn't make that if this is impossible, basically. Right. I'm wondering if you've noticed a kind of a trend that these guys don't adjust.
They all talk, so it's like, hey, I'm getting 10 grand, I should get 10 grand. I'm just as good, and I say, I'm not saying you're not worth it, but it's just, we have to price. I want to price it where the customer is able to purchase it. And say if you bring in even a $10,000 guest, and you got first class airfare, you got hotels, you got, food and photos and boots calls. You're into a $10,000 guest for 14 grand. And then if you try to charge, $60 a combo, you got to do like 300 combos on it, just to get to, roughly your money back, or maybe 250 combos just to get your money back. And that's very difficult to do at these times, to get 200.
That's a lot of combos
for anybody, so, if it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make dollars. So, I look at it like that. And, I fulfilled my agreement with Hook. He's wanting to do stuff, but the number hasn't come down. If it does, then we'll try. But it's a big number, and I just don't think I've asked other shows and told them the number, and they thought that was absurd, and that was my deal. I wasn't telling them anything that different than what I signed. So that they just right now it's not warranted.
And honestly, before you, Hook didn't really do anything because I think he always sort of, from what I heard, he always had like, an expectation of what he thought he was worth that a lot of people don't have machines the size of you where you can make something like that work even on a first time booking. So, I mean, it definitely makes sense. And if you're saying that someone's price is just not going to work, I mean, it's time, I think, now for talent to start adjusting and coming down as the interest goes down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we at COVID, people were getting, that like a $1,500 guest was getting, $3,000, to do virtuals, and the prices kept going up, and the buyers were there because they were home, and now they just want to stay at those prices, but the customer base ain't there. They did all these signings, they've been around, so yeah. Everything's got to take a notch down, but I mean, for it to make sense to do these talent, once you get used to, you do have a job making $100 an hour, you get used to that money, so they, you want to continue to make that kind of money, but you might have to take a pay cut to keep working because I have guys reaching out to me, that want to. They will do signings and they keep giving me these numbers, and it's like it's just not going to work,
Yeah.
We've also noticed that some of these guys, who bring themselves into the shows, the Hockey Talk Mans and the Sergeant Slaughters and those kind of guys. That I watched Sergeant Slaughter, for example, not to whatever talk bad about him, but I watched him sit at New York Comic Con by himself for a really long time. with very, very high price signs up there. A lot of these guys, I don't think think about what they're going to draw to the table.
Absolutely. I'd rather be cheaper and sell more and have the people busy than price yourself out. I mean, it's, I Sergeant Slaughter comes to every one of my shows, so I don't really know. I know I heard he charges a lot. I've had talked to them, to go lower, and they think, that their Funko Pop sign is selling for, $250, so, and like, even the Honky Tonk Man, he thinks his autograph's worth a lot more than what it really is, so, I mean, it's just all what you're willing to pay. If somebody comes up with like a multi-signed item and they need Honky Tonk and he throws out a crazy number, they need him on it, they're going to pay it. But, I'd rather my guests be busy and affordable than, sit there waiting for,
funny,
one or two people that you overcharge.
Because years ago, right, the talent's biggest fear was to sit there like Virgil, right, with no one there. There were those jokes, right? People about Virgil with the empty table with no line. That was like their fear. And I remember they would joke about it. I remember talking to Chris Hero at a show, and he was talking about like that was his biggest fear, was sitting at a table and there was no line, nobody there. And so it's like because an ego thing. And so it's very interesting when you see sort of the new mentality, which is protecting the perceived value as opposed to trying to generate repeat customers, for example. And there's a lot of them who do it. It's very, and it's also kind of a trend that once these guys, once the vendors dry up who are not willing to pay them guarantees, they'll bring themselves into the shows, right? So I noticed that a couple of years ago, I'll use Sandman as an example. We a bunch of people would bring out Sandman. Sandman was kind of a consistently profitable guy. And then now Sandman brings himself to the shows. And I'm pretty sure he's putting less money in his pocket now than he was when he was willing to work for someone else. But that's
like as far as my wrestling show, I think I sold like 15 tables directly to the talent, where they didn't go through an agent. You got, the wife calling you up, hey, I need a table. And, they're sending me money for a table to control themselves. They don't, they think they're worth a certain number. And I guess whoever, they offer them money and they didn't agree. So they bought their own tables. It happens to me every show. They buy the actual talent buys their own table, so I mean, there's a reason for that. I guess they think they're worth more, or they just didn't come up with the right price. I don't know.
That's an interesting trend. I think so anyway, because that would have been unheard of a couple of years ago, but it's definitely becoming more of a trend.
I'd say they don't. The talent doesn't want you. Almost don't want you to make any money. It's like you want to keep all the money. It's like that's what I find that I'm more with the Comic-Con world, is that the word guarantee is like a very loose. So it's like, hey, you're going to guarantee me $50,000, and then I'm going to keep all the overage. And I'm like, that's not going to work. What is it in for me? I'm charging $10 to get in the door. I'm not charging $50 at Chill Out. So, even if you brought 200 people, that's $2,000 that came through the door. That's not even going to cover one of your first class flights from LA. So it's this show here has been very challenging with the Comic-Cons. I'm learning a lot. I like to challenge myself. I like to learn as I go, and I like to get better. So I'm learning, the different verbiage, and I always did like buyouts, and some of the celebrities don't want to do that. They want to keep everything. It's like a privilege that they're at your show, but with me, it just doesn't make sense charging $10 that I'll never make. That kind of money with anybody being at the show, paying, crazy amount of first class airfares from LA. Right. And
that's the thing, doing the math, right? You could draw 10,000 people, which is probably not going to happen, right? But if you could draw 10,000 people, that's the number you have out in deposits to your 3 headliners. You know what I mean? So there needs to be money coming in somewhere else.
Well, Absolutely. That's like the other show that I used to, that I did. They've been doing it for 35 years. They have never brought one talent into their show where they guaranteed that this person or bought out a certain, brought out that celebrity. I mean, that's absurd. If you have that much, if you think your show is going to draw that much, why wouldn't you invest in your show? I have $500,000 invested already in this chill out show. That's just guaranteed that these people are going to make this amount of money. 35 years they run a show, they never brought in a guest. Like, how do you support, not support, but I don't understand how they wouldn't bring in a guest if they think their show is that, successful. They'll throw off somebody a flight or throw somebody a hotel room and have an agent bring them in, but they never brought in one guest ever. And, so people call me up, they're like, wow, you must think this show's really good. You're bringing in all these guests. And, I'm like, yeah, I have confidence in myself. I have confidence in that people are going to come. I got a whole marketing team. I was out putting out road signs this afternoon. Now, I'm really, this is going to work. And, I'm really is trying the best I can. Email lists, email blast, and I got billboard going up. I got a huge sponsor by Progressive Soup. I got Harley Davidson bringing a bike. They gave me a nice sponsor. I got Capital Grill. I got Outback sponsoring the green room. You can't even get a bottle of water at the other show. I have a green room that's going to be catered, for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So I'm doing it right, and I really, this first show, I hired a convention organizer. Me and her on the phone every day working this out. I want this first show to go off without a hitch. I want to keep building this show. So like I said, I have a 3-year deal with them so far. So I want to let it grow.
So do you think your practice of paying guarantees is like threatening in some way to their way of doing things? And so that's like scary to them?
Absolutely. It's so like, we've talked about it before. It's, the 10%ers bringing in, what if they did 3,000 or 30,000, the agent's taking 10%, and, and they'll throw them a hotel room. I know the deal with the hotel rooms. If every 10 rooms you book, you get one free, so, you book 250 rooms, you get 25 rooms free. You book 1,000 rooms, you're getting 100 free. You're able to give these, rooms out, and it's not costing you anything because, you're filling up a whole hotel, so. And now I'm coming in. I'm guaranteeing William Shatner $50,000. I did it at the other show. I guarantee him $50,000. He didn't need a flight, and they wouldn't pick up the hotel. He didn't need a hotel, and they wouldn't pick up the flight. So, and then 1,000 people in line, and they all paid $40 to come in. Right. So you do the math. There's 1,000 people times $40. I just generated $40,000 for another show. And then they drop 20 8x10s on my table for them to sign that they sell them at $100 a piece. I mean, what am I doing here? I just made you $40,000. I can't, I can't get my airline picked up. And then you drop a stack of 8x10s on my table to get signed, that you're reselling against me online. So it's very frustrating. I've been frustrated for a while. And this was just the boiling point. Where I really think it was a blessing in disguise. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. So I'm glad it happened to me because it gave me the motivation and ambition to run my own Comic-Con. I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, honestly, I think you sort of, as you are in the wrestling world, being your own boss, running your own show, sort of being responsible for your own, sweat and the effort you put in. I think that, it is a better move long term for you to have your own like celebrity, convention.
Absolutely. So like, I'll tell you a story. This for 10 years for the other show, I've been trying to get Punky Brewster, Saloon Moon Fry. So I was talking to our rep, and then we got her on the phone. This is going on for 10 years, and no interest. Then like 5 years ago, sparked her interest. She actually called me direct. What do you think? How much could we charge? How come? I'm like, I don't know. We figured out the number and everything. And then I got her to come to one of the shows. She agreed. It was like an April show. I went to the other show. I said, I got Punky Brewster, Saloon Moon Fry. He says, I have no interest in her. Right. So now I've been working on this, for 10 years, working on this guest. For somebody to tell you no good. Don't want her to come. So I didn't bring her, and now another agent signed her exclusively. She's all over the place with this other guy. So I lost out on, I think, a very, very valuable guest because I can't make the decision. That's their show. I can't tell them what to do. I've heard it from them. It's my party, and I can invite who I want to. And so, they're not opening into suggestions. It's what he likes. I had David Hasselhoff booked for the last show. He didn't want him to come. I worked on it for months. I was just bashing my head against the wall. I just worked on a deal for months, and you told me no. So it's very frustrating when you try to bring in these guests, and it's if they don't like it or he don't like it, he doesn't want them there. So it's it is what it is. It's their show. They can make their own decisions.
I guess that's how the rule is, right? Like when you're in charge, the buck stops with you, right? And that's where it's funny because a bunch of people who've brought in guests to the other show have said the same thing. You're kind of at the mercy of certain people's whims, basically, where they just I don't like that one, and there's money to be made for everyone, and you just become powerless to overcome that.
So like I had my wrestling show. I'm doing, this is probably my 25th, it's about my 30th show that I'm doing. And it was maybe like 10 years ago. Mike from High Spots calls me up. Hey, listen, I got the Bullet Club. And I'm like, who the heck is the Bullet Club? I don't even know who I was like, I got the Bullet Club. We're going to need a whole floor. We're going to need this. I'm like, all right. I was like, I don't know anything about the Bullet Club. I'm not the biggest of wrestling, thing. I kind of keep my eye on and know what's going on because I need to. And he's like, just trust me. Right? I'm like, all right, it's coming from Mike. He's one of the biggest in the game. I just said, all right, Mike, let's do it. I got the whole floor in Queens for the Bullet Club. Sure enough, the line wrapped around the building. I was open to suggestions. I was listening to somebody, so like when I call them up, say, listen, hey, I got Kid and Play, and they got Funko out. No, I don't want them there. You got to pick up all the travel, or they can't. They're not open to suggestions. They're not opening to changing with the times. I need to be my own boss. I can't lose deals like Hasselhoff. I can't lose deals like Punky Saloon Moon Fry. I'm open to suggestions. Like I got a call last night from a vendor. He's like, can I talk to you for a while? I'm like, what's up? He's like, I got 4 of these social media influencers. He rattled off the names. I looked them up. They all got like 500,000 followers on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I said, let's do it. Let's try it. So I'm going to keep my eye on this. I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to announce them this week. It's, they're like YouTubers, Instagram, big famous and TikTok. And I'm going to keep my eye on this because I think there's something there because, I watch these TikToks and I watch these reels and I'm watching this more than I'm watching, the Yankee game, so, and I see it, these guys are at, Fan Fest or Fanatics and people are going crazy over them. And then they're not famous. They're just like Instagram famous or social media famous. So I listened to them out and I'm going to keep my eye on it. But at least I had, I was able to say, let's try it. Let's see how this works. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But at least I want to give it a try. And so I'm open to suggestions. I think that makes me, pretty good at doing what I do. And you need to change with the times. I had a show in Queens and the people were waiting outside for 5 hours. I heard the feedback. I went out to Long Island, got a big spot. I've had nothing but, people complimenting the show, since I moved there. So I was opening it to everybody's feedback, so I had to, so that's, I'm open to suggestions. I'm open to feedback. I'm able to work with the agents. I'm able to work with the vendors. And I'm listening. Anybody can get in touch with me at any time. These other shows, good luck getting in touch with anybody. It's like I call everybody right back. They call my phone, they email, I call them, I speak to them. I'm there for them. And I had calls. I was on calls all day today while I was, putting out the road signs for this show. So they could get me at any time. And I think that's, that's good customer service. And, that's what I really built my wrestling show up, and I'm going to do the same here, and I already have a big following. So, I'm going all in on this. And
do you have a number of attendees for Chill Out in mind that you would consider like a successful draw?
Well, right now, today, at this point, I sold 2,200 admissions. So I think that's pretty good so far. And then we're not even at Labor Day, so I'm pretty happy with the number. So, I mean, if we get 5,000-6,000, people to come through the door in 2 days, I think that's pretty good,
Yeah.
Maybe, usually what you do in pre-sales, you double the day of. So, I mean, then we'd be... 5,000 people coming through the door, if not more.
Yeah, I mean I think if you did 5,000 people, I think that would be inarguably a great number for a first time show. I
don't really consider myself a first time show because I like I said, I obviously I am a first time show, but I've been in that area for 12 years. I built up a really really big fan base. And I'm not just saying it. It's like because like people they message me, hey, who you bringing? I'm coming just because of you. This is not just one person. This is hundreds. So like, I didn't want to just walk away from something that I felt I built a little bit at someone else's show. So I didn't want to just walk away and say, all right, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I really. I really felt strongly about this from not walking away. So, I'm gonna stay in that area and I'm gonna continue doing it.
What do you think, Dana? Do you have anything else?
Just to sort of wrap it up and just show some love to the other, big event, literally, pun intended. Speaking of just going back to what you were saying about liking and like preferring your guests to be reasonably priced and busy all day. I mean, who's more reasonably priced and sure to be busy than Goldberg? How'd that deal come to happen?
Yeah, no, I booked Goldberg. I'm paying a certain amount for him, a high price, and you ain't gonna find anywhere lower for Goldberg than $80 that I'm charging. I've seen them charge anywhere up to $150. So he's reflecting on his ticket sales. He's going to be very busy. I like to keep it, like I said, I like to keep it reasonable where they're busy the whole day because, we've talked about it before. I'm getting, a certain amount of units. I like to fill these all up with customers rather than fill up with boxes of photos, So, I want them to be busy the whole day, So I want to keep it affordable for the people to come in and able to get multiple guests.
Yeah, I don't see anyone charging that price for Goldberg again. That is really, hell of a price. And I think the wrestling law.
I looked around. I mean, the last show he was like $149 for an autograph. I'm charging $80. Just so, and I'm not upcharging on any belts or whatever it is. It's $80. It's $80.
No, I was joking with Dana that I think Goldberg's gonna have a line wrapped around that building.
I think he will.
Yeah. No, yeah. Well, we sold a lot of tickets. I mean, we got Mike Tyson coming. We have, we got Sting, we got AJ Lee, we got Great Muta. We're gonna actually do a Great Muta Sting dual photo op. We're gonna announce that pretty soon. Where that's gonna be cool. A lot of people have been reaching out about that. So yeah, we got a solid lineup.
And it's funny, AJ Lee went from basically doing nothing to becoming like a frequent flyer with you guys.
Well, she enjoyed really coming. She enjoyed the way she's very. She likes his things a certain way, and we fulfilled it, for her. And I mean, we've been back and forth complimenting each other. That thank you for this, thank you for that. She was a 3-hour deal to turn into a 7-hour deal, and I had gone over to her at the last show, and I said, AJ, we could start running, these people through quick. She's like, absolutely not. I'm here to the end. My flight's not 7:00 tonight. She says, I'm going to see every person, to the end, which she did. And I had nothing but respect for her, the way she handled herself, the way she treated every customer. Every customer walked out extremely happy, so much that, that AJ wanted to come back, that she was so happy the way she got treated from, the security I had from her for not putting stacks of photos in front of her to sign, multiples that she's had happened in a couple of other appearances that she did. So she was very happy with the way, we handled it. and she wanted to come back. I think she's got like a comic book too, is coming out, so she's gonna promote that as well. But yeah, we're happy to have her back.
That's awesome.
All right, I think you're ready to wrap up. Dana, any final thoughts?
No, I just think, I mean, I can't imagine running one convention of this magnitude, and Tom here is like simultaneously planning and carrying out two. I think that's actually, that's pretty crazy.
I mean,
yes,
Tom,
it is crazy. You know, I was very comfortable in what I was doing, which is not a good thing. It's not good getting comfortable anywhere. So I'm trying to get comfortable with the uncomfortable. So I'm going to run, 2 shows in 3 weeks. It's going to be very difficult, but I'm prepping every day, for these 2 shows. So, I'm not going to slight one show from the other or whatever. Like I said, I hired a event planner for this one, where she's helping. She's basically everything. She's doing the layouts, doing the travel, doing the setups, doing the vendors. So it's a huge help.
Is that like your first employee out of the family?
Pretty much, yeah. Really, yes. This one here, I've seen her at different shows, and she's phenomenal at what she does. I mean, she goes to she runs San Diego Comic-Con. So. One of the showrunners, so she's unbelievable. As far as the transportation, the green room, from the time that the celebrity lands to the time they leave, she makes sure. And as far as the agents, make sure everybody's taken care of. And that's what I want. I want to make sure everybody's taken care of. Everybody has a successful show, no complaints. And this lady is one of the best in the business. So we got her running this one. I'm very happy to have her.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a first class operation, and I mean, who would expect anything less?
Yeah, we got yeah, I mean, you got a busy fall now. We got a busy fall spending all the money. So, I mean, we're obviously gonna be at Chill Out as customers. We're gonna be at, as we'll be at Big Event as vendors. So, we'll be seeing you around a bunch in the fall.
Absolutely right.
I appreciate your support. Thank you for doing this for me, and I hope I set the record straight. I'm very happy that this actually happened to me in the long run, because I think it was a blessing in disguise, like I said.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom
Unger of the big. He has the Chill Out Con and the Big Event New York, and we look forward to seeing you soon.
All right, thanks, guys. I'll see you soon.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so what do you think?
I think much like the last interview we had with Tom Unger, it was really a great look into sort of the why and the sort of examine the breakdown in the relationship and why I think it was important for Tom to sort of venture out and do his own thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. It's tricky when you have a relationship like that for a long period of time in business, that you start to make friends and you start to get to know people, and then for whatever reason that relationship ends, and truthfully I am left with some questions still about why that relationship just ended that way. I mean, I find it, Tom quoted some pretty reasonable numbers that made sense to me, right? His guests in the past had drawn boots in the door, so to speak, people who paid admission fees to see Tom's guests. That was real money in Chiller's pocket. So for Chiller to turn him away and say, we don't want you here anymore, it's just confusing that it came out of nowhere, or the claim is that it came out of nowhere, or that it was little things adding up to a big thing. But I'm just taken aback that they basically took the person who was booking their biggest guests and uninvited him.
Yeah, and listen, the idea that Tom, someone out there listening could say, well, how do we know Tom is telling the truth? Why do we, why should I trust Tom? We have heard similar things from different agents over the years that Chiller is very, I guess every show is, but there's a lot of agents have said that they'll go to Chiller with a certain guest and Chiller won't want them. And that is absolutely that show, whoever's running a particular show, that is their prerogative. When it comes to names like an Anne Margaret or David Hasselhoff, I don't entirely understand that, especially when they are not coming out of pocket in any major way. Like who, like, obviously you book a name, you have to account for the table is lost, you have to account for how the lines are going to be and what kind of a space you need. But I mean, what names are going to really be better than Hasselhoff or Margaret? So it seems kind of preposterous that someone would let whims and fancy and whatever sort of push away names of that caliber, which kind of makes it kind of makes me think that maybe there is some more like personal issue, sour grapes, something that would sort of make the thing with Tom seem a little bit bigger and more final, unless Tom just has a shorter tolerance for BS than some of the other agents, and they just sort of keep rolling with the punches, whereas he started his own show.
And again, we only have one side of this dispute, right? I mean, only Tom has come on. We would love to have someone, a representative of Chiller, come on. I mean, that invitation is open. If anyone from Chiller wants to come on and rebut anything that Tom said is inaccurate, we'd love to have you on, or to provide additional perspective, because it is interesting that Chiller's been running a really long time. It's a fantastic show, honestly. I enjoy going.
Yeah, I absolutely love Chiller. I will be at this one. I think the lineup, this is one of their better lineups in the last couple. I'm excited.
We don't go to every show, but we've been to a bunch. I mean, our kind of main, we did a bunch of business with Olivia Hussey at the one show, and we've been to a bunch of Chillers, pretty regular customers. I enjoy the show. It's always a good time. But I'm curious. I'm curious what happened here. And I guess the question is, do you expect there to be? Do you cut someone off from your show and then expect them to not react in some way? And I think that's the interesting piece, that they if they expected Tom to just kind of go away and lose this tremendous income stream. I wonder if Tom taking that one Chiller off to go to Kuwait ruffled some feathers, and I don't know, but in any case, I do understand that if someone asks you to not come back to their whatever it is, any job, and then you look for an alternate income stream, that's a pretty normal reaction. Granted, it was done in their backyard, and obviously there was some poking fun at the name and stuff like that. And and Tom was very diplomatic about all that, obviously. But there's some poking fun, and having a good time with it. And I guess this is really going to test the chops of Chiller. It's a long-standing con with a long history. They have a lot of goodwill in the community, and this is gonna test them.
Yeah, without question. I think it's definitely. I think a lot of agents and vendors could have probably been treated the same way as Tom. And let's be honest, I think you have to have a certain personality. You also have to have a certain level of juice, financial and otherwise, know-how, all these things. I mean, the average vendor is not going to take this, the disrespect we heard from Tom's vantage point and be able to turn it into running a competing show. So Tom was basically the wrong one to do this with, because he is willing, as the proof is in the pudding, to run and start his own show. I think it's definitely it's interesting. It's very interesting. I think it's actually getting to a point now where they may be too much for me on both ends of the show. Like, I couldn't do both of these on a Friday night. Like Greg said to me when I first said that, how I can do them both in one day. Greg was like, "You're out of your mind. It's not going to work." And I think Friday definitely won't work. Maybe a Saturday. Maybe I could do half a day at each. But then you start putting in lunches and pro ops, and God knows. This might be a 2-day thing. So, I mean, both shows are going to get me, but I'm also a psychopath that's currently in a room surrounded by stuff piled up on shelves, and I'm not normal. For the normal people that maybe don't want to dedicate an entire weekend and spend several $1,000s in that one weekend on photo ops and autographs, what happens? They got to pick something. They got to pick and choose. I think Tom is right that his $10 admission fee kind of serves well to be a curiosity. Let's just walk over and see what's happening. You can't walk over. You probably get run over by a car. But, let's go over and look. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure if both of these shows are going to be fully successful or as successful as they could be if they weren't on separate, unopposed weekends. We will see. I wish both shows well.
And again, if anyone takes factual issue with anything Tom said and wants to present the other side, that's what we're here for, to listen and to make sure that the fans get to hear the truth. So thanks again to Tom for coming on. I thought, it was very illuminating.
Yeah, I had a great time. I think our listeners will have a lot of questions answered. And I want to put this out there because this is information that I've been sort of forced to be quiet about for a while. We now have some level of confirmation about Cosmo Kramer, Michael Richards himself. Tom said on the record on this show that he will either be at Chill Out or Orlando, which would be the Fan Expo Orlando. And the tone I was getting, I don't know, what you picked up, but the tone I was getting, I kind of feel like I'll be pricing Orlando flights.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to Orlando.
That's fair. I mean, listen, I think I have to. It's the last one I need. He's not getting any younger, so I think I'll be doing it. But listen, Michael Richards becomes a little bit more real. He, Tom on record sort of confirmed what I've heard for months now from him. So for all the people that have been asking and clamoring for information about Kramer, I mean, there it is. Nothing's announced yet. And we also should be watching the big Chill Out announcement coming this week, which actually I forgot to harass him about off the air, about who the hell that name is. So I don't even know who it is. But yeah, he's making it sound pretty big. So let's wait and see.
All right. So is that it for? That's it for these. What do we got going? What's coming up for us next? And the next thing we have is Charlie Sheen book signing in September at Bookends, and then of course NYCC. I'm expecting another big wave of names and whatnot to start flooding us soon.
I'm sure. At this point, my budget's not that astronomical. I'm able to only come twice. It would actually be kind of nice if they just stopped here, but I know they won't.
What days are you going?
Thursday, Sunday. I copied you.
Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday. That's what you said you were doing. You kept Saturday open for the other show.
I got to check my stuff. I don't remember exactly what's what.
You're shot.
Yeah, I am. That's what happens. So if you're shopping for autographs, again, check out www.markdoutcollectibles.com or eBay store at markdoutcollectibles. To contact us for any reason at all, please email markedoutcollectibles@gmail.com or join the Marked Out Collectibles autograph collecting community. The Marked Out autograph collecting community. That's what it's called. I need to change it in my notes. I'm going to change it right now. The Marked Out autograph collecting community on Facebook. And what do we have to announce for our signings? So for around big event, we have Mike Tyson, and you've also added, we have prints for Swerve and for Goldberg. Do you have those prints up yet?
I do not. I will have them up this week. I want to just make this clear. These are metallic prints only, 8x10, 11x14. As of now, I am not planning on carrying any backstock, none. If you do not get your order in by the deadline's going to be about maybe 2 weeks before the event so I can get the print orders made. These will be made to order. If one sells, one design, it'll be a one of one as of now. I'm not having any backstock. I'm not taking any mail order. I don't want to deal with that with a full table. I'm really limiting my mail order. As is, we're accepting for Mike Tyson. I think that's about all the mail order we can take outside of our guests. So if you want these prints when they drop, don't wait for an eBay post or anything. We're not going to have any. So get those orders placed before the deadline.
And of course, we're going to have pre-orders and mail-ins for our guests, which are Swipe Right, Brad Baylor and Ricky Smokes, the current WWE Evolve champion Jackson Drake, and the stunner Emily J. Will be at our tables at Big Event. Very excited for that. That's coming up soon. It'll be November before we know it. Shoot, it's already almost September.
Not good. This damn summer flew by.
As it always does, right? We're hurtling toward the abyss. We all are. Entropy.
By the abyss. By the abyss. Do you mean the fall con season or death?
I meant death, but also the fall con season. They're connected cosmically. Oh man. You got anything else?
I don't.
All right, so I actually have to go into work tomorrow, so I gotta edit this down and cut it up before putting it out tonight. So that's my cue to go. So for markedout.com, Marked Out Collectibles, Marked Out Radio, I'm Sean.
I'm Dana.
And we will see you in the abyss.